Dhamma Jumden the Jenshaman Dashamba Yanda Mandogas Rivada Shazon Demon Devaresha Banjidin Jam Jivun de Vakano Jiva Mana Melban Hadam Benan Sanjay Jumden de Benjawa Shaja Duba Chazero Children Janso Shell Dhamma Jumden the Jenshaman Dashamba Yanda Zobe Sanjay Rivada Shazon Demon Devaresha Jidin Jamba Jivun de Vakano Jiva Mana Tada Menanje Dhamma Sanjay Jumden Benjawa Shajan to Bama Chatan or Children Jamso Dhamma Jumden the Shinshavan Rajambaya Rivada Shazon Demban Devarisha Van Jidin Jamba Jivon Kano Jivama Namba Lada Menanje Sanjay Jumden Benjawa Shajan to Bama Chatan or Children Jamso Kanzekanya Zowa Jadam Sajan Denam Manenji Dendena Churches on Tezekya Nanda Gunga Jodo Susan Yishija to Sergio Board Taban Jiden Sumnava Meba Bombo Chuni Jama Chenja de Martimen Davish Sendon Jama the region of Siva Sumaji Yame Chenja Jama Bombo to Jecha and Bottom Jejem Sonomi Day the Shinshama Charles and Notaben de Jatu giving us on the Chida de Novajo was in your Chama Charles Lavatala Rabene Shingatama Kendemaya Charles. The watching Misha give up his own sopas and Rangas. Tenesanje Demaya Kamara Rema, you must have sugar melon. The Jeshalom de Delta, Solomon Dia, Tom Jesse, Quantum de Ginger. Gadana Shiva Lamdri, Sibir Solon, Joe. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the fourth historian, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata on the road of the womb, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely, fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shajakya, I prostrate and make offerings of the refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, one beyond, the fourth historian, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata on the road of the wall, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the complete and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shajakya, I prostrate and make offering the go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the fourth historian, the completely fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata on the road of the world, supreme guide of beings to the tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the complete and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shajakya, I prostrate and make offerings of both prayers. When a supreme among humans you are born on this earth, you pace on sun strife that said, I'm supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate, with pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the three worlds, winner of the best, to you I prostrate, with the supreme signs, face like spotless smoke, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the three worlds of God, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate, the Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with the qualities like vast worship, to you the one gone to dustness I prostrate, the purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from aura, the one path, sublime, pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy faith qualified with the realization, who are devoted to the moral precept, to you the sublime community, intended virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous action, perform only perfect virtuous action, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha, a star, a mirage, a flame of lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through this merit, may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the four forms, and be delivered from the ocean of suffering of aging, sickness, and death. Sanje jono zoje jono chanju bando no ne jasu je ave jasu je sono dola benje sanje dogo sanje jono soje jono chanju bando no ne jasu da benje zoje sono je dola benje sanje dogo sanje jono soje jono chanju bando no ne jasu je da benje zoje sono je dola benje sanje dogo sanje jono soje jono chanju bando no ne jasu je da benje zoje sono je dola benje sanje dogo I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, through the merit I create by practicing giving and other perfections. May I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, through the merit I create by practicing giving and other perfections. May I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, through the merit I create by practicing giving and other perfections. May I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Sonam Jetera no Jesia, Mijas and Bonam Jetu, Channel Jemadoja, Jurambo, Tona Bidemo. Tevemeva no longer shadow Sigim, Tona, the woman, Simjatam Jitama, Sanjus and Banam Jawa, Papa Kazana, Yangana, the Rotrajet, the woman Jetu, Probasum Jim. Sonam Brata Banyana, Bogija, the Chomeju, Kusoma, the Vatagama, Soda, Sumeva, the mother. Dumela number to go Pumba, number to go come on the medication number, the Shedrichip. You also don't want a number to go Sivalea to go Chubo and get she on the Mandeva Sanjim Dedi. Ishela nearby Yamena development of a Yanda Vanijatama, Simjatum, Civil Sama Shuba and the Danda Sanjim Dedi. Kushi when you're there on the one Namazo, Vision, Tomagiva, Padu, Giva, Tomagiva, to have some hundreds of Jep. Yozo Yozo Tava Yozo Chawa Yang Tava, never but you shiver me when you want to get on the Kevan just so very much. Jim Dedi Yellow was to be tuned to one level to when you're right, so be changed to what of them, whatever you would do. Tawashim begin in the level you were, you were, Timanjave, you were charging with the so much page. Yes, I don't want to Jimena, you were good on Jimena, you were Chambo. Kangia de Genova Juanga, Jimaba, Chabama, Giovanni Jidama, Zobas and Yamano Jet, but and Charles. So, page 296 or
just yes, the top of it. And Logan texted you to say he wasn't able to make it today.
Oh, okay. So one might think that although the text commentary on the awakening mind Changju Semje, awakening mind, might not accept the foundational consciousness that exists by virtue of its intrinsic characteristics. So Nagarjuna is commentary on the awakening minds, Nagarjuna mind. So Nagarjuna, I think in the Nagarjuna's text, that sometimes they use the word foundation consciousness, but not exactly mind-only school. The foundation consciousness that exists by virtue of its intrinsic characteristic. It does accept as an illusion like consciousness that is separate from the sixth class of the consciousness and the form of consciousness endowed with all seed of the afflicted phenomena and all those of the enlightened class of the phenomena. So Nagarjuna's, using the term, the word foundation consciousness as just a basis, kind of nature of the consciousness. So the mind-only school says the foundation consciousness, which is intrinsically exists and separate from the sixth class of consciousness. So the eye conscious, ear conscious, nose conscious, the tongue consciousness, and body consciousness, and the mental consciousness, and the foundation consciousness, something separate from the sixth consciousness, and is the form of consciousness endowed with all seed of the afflicted phenomena, its contaminations, its uncontaminations, like virtue and non-virtues, all kind of seed that is printed, or maybe printed within the foundation consciousness. So replies, were the text to accept this kind of foundational consciousness, it would also have to reject external reality. So to accept the mind-only school, understanding of the foundational consciousness, you have to reject the external realities, since on the view of form and sound, so on are claimed to appear merely from the maturation of propensities contained in foundational consciousness. In that case, how would one understand the following form of same text? So which means is saying the mind-only schools, they accept the foundational consciousness is completely different. The Nagarjuna's commentary on the awakening mind mentioning the word foundational consciousness. So the word foundational consciousness, Nagarjuna's just simply nature of the consciousness. Here, the mind-only school, not just nature of the consciousness. It is the consciousness which is separate from the sixth consciousness, six perceptions, and it carries its all the virtues and non-virtues seeds within that foundational consciousness. That foundational consciousness, move to one body to the another body, one life to the another life. So that so here the cognizer perceives the cognizable, perceptions perceives perceptible object. Without cognizable, there is no cognitions. Therefore, why do you not admit that neither object nor subject exist? So since the object is not really different from the conscious, the subject perceptions, perceptible objects are not different from the perceptions. Perceptions are no different from the perceptible objects. So why you kind of lean on one side that so objects do not exist, intrinsically, but subject intrinsically exist. So if you reject, you have to reject both subject and object. So both are depending on each other's. So this says that insofar as their existence and non-existence is concerned, the both outer object of knowledge and the inner cognitions are equal. Are equal. If one does not exist, neither will the others. The text states that this standpoint is no different from statement here in our work, Entering the Middle Way, where the Chandrakirti says that object and their cognitions are exactly equal with respect to their existence or lack, therefore. As such, it is wrong to discriminate between the two in terms of their existence and non-existence on the level of either of the two truth. So therefore, existence of the cognitions with no parallel external reality is not position of the Master Nagarjunas. Now, this is really kind of, the great argument between minority school and Prasangika school. So saying this, why Nagarjunas brought up this minority school point of views, because this is to understand clearly the Prasangika school point of view, you have to understand the minority school. And if you are able to, being able to how to refute the minority school point of view, then you understand the Prasangika school. So otherwise, just by studying Prasangika school, you may not be able to understand it clearly. So their point of view, declare their point of view. Since there is no foundational consciousness separate from mental consciousness, according to the Nagarjunas. So Nagarjuna says the foundational consciousness is not no different from the mental consciousness. Foundational consciousness is the mental consciousness. So what is called foundational consciousness in his commentary on the awakening mind refers in general to mind characterized by mere awareness, luminosity, more specifically to mental consciousness. The reason are that the context here is the response that demonstrate. So number one, the causal efficacy, right? The efficacies remain tenable despite the mind's general lack of intrinsic existence. The function of the cause and effect remain tenable, is still reality, functional, despite the mind's general lack of intrinsic, despite absence of intrinsic existence, there is function of the cause and effect. That's Nagarjuna. Number two, that is the mental consciousness that assumes the birth and the second existence. So, number two, because of the mental consciousness, there's something you can conceive. There's the birth and the second existence. Birth after the death is due to the mental consciousness. Number three, that it is the mental consciousness that is the basis of all class of phenomena. Mental consciousness that all class of phenomena, both afflicted and enlightened. So usually in Tibetan word they use kunjang means that cause afflicted means mental activities that more towards the non-virtues. There's something that, even that is virtue, more to the condition for the second existence, and the mental activities that is directed or that leaning towards the more conditioning to the enlightenment. So not all kind of virtues saying that. So mental consciousness is the basis for virtues activities, non-virtues activities. And mental consciousness is the reason there is a birth after the death. There is cycling. So mental consciousness is the reason. So there is kind of function of the law and cause and effect. So karma can, brings the result in the next life is because of the mental consciousness. So there's some kind of mental consciousness doing all of these things. So Mindfulness School named separately the foundational consciousness. So Nagarjuna says the foundational consciousness is not separate from the sixth consciousness, and there is the general mental consciousness, So that is kind of nature of. Generally, the mind is, in the nature of awareness and luminosity. So that's why it's called foundational consciousness, not just intrinsic existence, or not just it is separate from the sixth consciousness. So that's the Prasangika school argument. The literal truth of the teaching of the foundational consciousness is rejected in the Bhava Vivek, the essence of the middle way too. So the Master Bhava Vivek also reject the Mindfulness School, the assertion of the foundational consciousness in the essence of middle way. Similarly, given that he accepts the external reality. So Bhava Vivek accepts external reality. So external reality means the forms are, produced through the collection of the particles. So the particles that is, design or that produce the form that visually possible. So it is not it's not manifest from the maturation of the propensity, which is in the consciousness. So, and then the Master Janagapa does not accept the foundation consciousness. So there also seem to two camp within the Chittamatra, which reject external reality. All the Chittamatra is same in rejecting the external reality, but within the Chittamatra school, Mindfulness school, there are one Mindfulness school that reject the foundation consciousness. On the one that assert the foundation consciousness, and another that does not. So the Mindfulness school, there's the two, the follower of the scripture and the follower of the reasoning. So the follower of the reasoning is kind of more likely to reject the foundation consciousness. Even the Master Kamalashi, who does not accept the external reality, writes the mental consciousness alone is endowed with potency that connect with another life. He then goes on to cite the following from the Vasubandhu's terrace of the Abhidharma. So Kamalashila and Chandrakirti's, they are later after the Vasubandhu. So he quoted from the Vasubandhu's text. Serving, connecting, being freed from attachment, degeneratings, transitions through death, being born, these we maintain to be mental consciousness alone. So,
Keshula, I'm having some difficulty with this. It seems to me that there's kind of a middle way position between Prasangika and mind-only school. That is to say, you don't have to accept mind as inherent to argue that even what we perceive as particles or external reality is inseparable for the mind, just like cause and effect are inseparable. I don't really see anything here compelling me through logic to kind of disabuse myself as a possibility that external reality and internal reality are themselves inseparable, whether you want to call them mind or not, or whatever label you want to put on them. It doesn't. I don't see why you'll have to say a mind is inherent or a repository of karmic seeds. It seems to me that you can still argue a mind-only position that everything we perceive as external arises, what's the word? Together, there's a word, it arises together with mind, and neither of them, either external or what we call mind, is inherent, that they're just the arising of appearance.
yeah. Yeah. So first there's a thought comes in my mind that why is so significant, to follow the mind-only school, the foundation consciousness, which is, that they call the seventh consciousness. So the mind-only school thinks that there is the mind foundation consciousness. Because of that, you can have rebirth after the death. So without the foundation consciousness, seed will disperse, scatters. All the karmas will scatter, forgotten. So this foundational consciousness is one that collects all the karmic seeds, carries, printed in there. So because of that, and that there is a, determinations of which life you're going to have. So this is the minority school says, without the foundation consciousness. So the question is why why without the foundation consciousness, why karmic can be lost or scattered? Because this is each, for example, when I have anger, out of anger, I committed the negative karma, negative actions. So that very anger, right after that, disappears. It will cease to exist. So when the anger could not carry its seed, so anger had, the cease to exist right after the manifestation of the anger, right after it. And who will record it that you have done this action out of that anger? So the subject, the anger is lost, ceased to exist. Action is not really recalled, not being able to recall. And who has recorded? So then this is, the foundation consciousness always have this seed. Whatever you have committed, the karma is recorded, is printed within the foundation consciousness. So because of that, and there is the life after life. And then there is, because of the foundation consciousness, there is foundation consciousness, there is the possible of eliminating, removing all the negative seeds, by applying the antidote, the wisdoms. You can remove, you can clean up those negative seeds. Because of the foundation consciousness, so then there is the, unshakable relation of the cause and effect. Even the karma has committed 500 lives before, still can manifest, the result, consequence to be possible of revenue. And right now, after the 500 lives, because of the foundation consciousness. So foundation consciousness, not forgotten all this karma that you have committed. So that's the, and then so then when we think about like milk and yogurt, barley seed and sprout, tomato and their seeds. So tomato seeds, right after giving birth of the tomato, and the tomato seed will cease. So the potential of giving rise, giving rise of the tomato, seed is ceased to exist. So what is the, how's that? The process of giving rise to the effect. So there is no basis as a seed because ceased to exist. Seed has ceased to exist. So the whole process of giving rise to the tomato, why not is forgotten? Why not is just, how's that? Why not is forgotten when there is no seed? There's no other than the seed who can hold the process. So the sprout still manifest and still a reason and continuously giving rise the stems and leaves and the flowers, the fruits. So the whole process has no basis. Process of giving rise to that is why not is forgotten. Why sprout still continuously giving rise, the continuous giving rise to their effect. So, for example, if I have committed negative karma in this life, all my eye conscious, the air conscious, nose conscious, tongue conscious, body conscious, mental conscious, all cease to exist, when death happens. So then mindfulness school says, oh, foundation consciousness is there, which is carrying all the seeds. So in this way, the sprout, there is no any other, what do you call it, intermediate or kind of something, the condition which can carries or recorded whole the process of the cause. So there is no, there is nothing, but still the sprout can carry the continuity. So then this is to, the cause to the effect and effect to their effect continuing is there's no need the, another, how say, like the medium, right? Another mediate that can carries all the seed or the recording, recordings. There's no need for that. And why mindfulness school keep thinking this without the foundation consciousness, and all the seed will be scattered, all seed will be forgotten. Why? And what motivates them to? They feel comfortable with the mind basis all. So then it says these people, mindfulness school's followers feel comfortable with foundation consciousness is because they have so much, taught, and many times, generations, the creator. So the Shiva, Lord Shiva, is the nature of all things. The Lord Shiva is the source of, planets, sentient beings, everything. Because of the Shiva is there, therefore there's all the activities. We are all arise from the nature of the Shiva. So this kind of story is very much kind of related to the foundation consciousness. So therefore, mindfulness school, they create this comfort zone, the mind basis of all. Because the Lord Shiva is the permanent, the only difference is Lord Shiva is the permanent, foundation consciousness is impermanent, is the consciousness. So only that much difference. But function, mind, foundation consciousness, the functioning like a creator, the Bhagavan. So, yeah.
Yeah, continue. I have some more questions though when you finish.
So yeah, that's kind of, the karma in the past, all the karmas in the past, without the foundation consciousness will not be forgotten, will not be lost, will not be, disappears or scattered. Because there's a continuum. The continuum means, yes, that continuum is because of that influence, that propensities that continue. So you don't need another separate consciousness to carry the propensities of the seeds.
So are we saying that foundational consciousness is a word suggesting it's inherent?
Yeah.
Are we saying, right? It is, that's correct, right? the word foundational consciousness has the connotation of inherent
No.
existence.
The foundation consciousness means the foundation of what? It's the foundation of activities of the law and cause and effect, foundation of function of the death and the birth, the function in the foundation of this possible of elimination of afflictive emotions, attaining enlightenment. So all is because of the one, that nature of the mind.
Okay, so we're saying it's functional. It's how can I put it? A proposed conceptual fabrication to explain function, but it's not truly inherent, right?
I think, for example, there's in the the ancient Hindu religion thinks that so there is, you are cycling in samsara, so you have committed many different kind of karma in past life. So sometime you will be experience the consequences of the positive karma. Sometimes you will experience the consequences of negative karmas. So now the question is, how we really kind of selecting, right? So tomorrow I'm going to experience the consequences of the positive karma. Day after tomorrow, and I'm going to experience the negative karma. So I don't remember all of those karma that I have committed. I have totally forgotten. So how this karma is happening, choosing the time. So then they were ancient and said, oh, because the Bhagavan is there, he remember everything, every detail. So that's what their thinking is. You don't remember, you have forgotten, but Bhagavan hasn't forgotten. So Bhagavan is always watching what you have done. So all the records, very detailed, it's very clear to him. So that's why. So and people feel, oh, okay, then it's okay. So he remembered that. So that's what I experienced. So now this pretty much, similar here, the mind-only school who believes in the foundation consciousness. So without any, any kind of specific condition which can, which has registered all these activities, what kind of activities that you have done. There's something that has to be registered, something that has to be recorded. You cannot record all the actions in eye consciousness, air consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and even the mental consciousness, which imagining the tree or car, or imagining house. So these are, not stable. They do not really, they have no stabilities. It just, flickers all the time. Now, which mind, which you can record it all these, activities from thousands lives, and not really flickers, is stable. And then this is, foundation consciousness.
That's the same as Kunshi?
Kunshi, yeah. So foundation consciousness. So this is why the Neoprasangika school says the Buddha has mentioned this kind of the mind foundation consciousness, because these people have so much, informed, how say, with the story of the Bhagavan activities. So when they give you, when the Buddha mentioned this kind of foundation consciousness, and they easily connect to that, because it's related to the story they were told. And then when Buddha mentioned the foundation of consciousness, is it same meaning in the Buddhist mind, like the disciples who find comfortable with meaning of the foundation consciousness, then it says no. In the Buddhist mind, it's just a general consciousness, mere awareness. So mere awareness, luminosities, the possibility of, because of this mind, there's a law and cause and effect. Because of this mind, there is possible of overcoming attachment, attaining enlightenment. Because of this mind, the nature of the mind, there is, what do you call it? So possible of generating positive karma and negative karma. Just in his mind, that's the only thing. So the mind-only school, they kind of, they projects from their story they were told, and then says, oh, this foundation consciousness has to be, intrinsically exist, truly exist. And because everything rises from there, so this everything that you see and hear is actually the nature of that foundation consciousness. So there is no external form to see, there's no external sound to hear, there's no external taste, there's no external textures. So everything arises from the foundation consciousness. Yeah.
I'm a little. I have some more questions here. I'm a little puzzled over. I mean, of course, I've heard it many times. Whenever I hear the word luminosity, I kind of think of like a kind of energy that carries the potential of manifesting in many conceivable and inconceivable ways. But now when I think of it, it sounds like luminosity is like a trick, because now we're not going to say mind is inherent. We're going to call it luminosity instead. We're going to replace one term with another and pretend we've gotten rid of this issue of inherent existence. But we actually haven't. We're just calling it luminosity. That's one question. I'll do one at a time here.
I think the Nagarjuna's and the commentary on the awakening mind, he mentioned about the foundation consciousness. That is, the meaning is totally different from the mind-only school, the foundation consciousness. So the Nagarjuna's, the Gunshi's foundation consciousness, or some other translation they use mind, basis of all. The basis of all. Basis of all, and if you all divide it into two, samsara and nirvanas. The basis of samsara and nirvanas. Why samsara? Why nirvana? Not because of the air. Samsara and nirvana is not because of the space. It's not because of the soils on stones, right? Samsara is because of the mind. And why this mind can be samsara, why this mind can be enlightened. So then says, very nature of the mind is, the very nature of the mind is, I think luminosity means it has the potential to be aware there is no limitation of how much it can be aware of. But it can be obscured, it can be, defiled. So, nature of the mind is it has the nature of awareness, luminosity, aware of. But because it is possible of being aware of all existing, and therefore it can be, obscured, it can be, defiled. So when the nature of the mind is defiled, although its nature is the luminosity and awareness, but once it's defiled, one is obscured in samsara. So it's free from the defilement, free from the obscurations, then enlightened. So therefore, this nature of the mind is referring to that nature of the mind, saying this is the basis of all samsara and nirvana. And this is the basis of law and cause and effect. So your actions is not registered, recorded, printed in the stone or air or any soil. Your actions is recorded, printed within the nature of the mind. So the very nature of the mind is, you can use the word kunshi, basis of all. So it's saying its nature is awareness, luminosity. Its nature is luminosities. So like when you say, oh, this person's very nature is very compassionate, very calm, very positive. So that does not mean he can be influenced by negative things. Yeah, his nature was so compassionate, so kind person, but I don't know what happened to that person. Now that nature, the person his nature is very positive. He was influenced, he was misguided, misled. Therefore, now he is no longer that good person.
Therefore, that sounds, if we're talking about nature, to me, that's talking about inherent existence. You may not perceive your inherent existence, but to me, this whole thing of inherent existence has now crept back in.
Huh?
Now this whole thing about inherent existence to me has crept back in as nature.
No.
Nature.
No. So it can be conceived in many aspects. So this right now is saying nature of the mind is, what is the nature of the mind? Is awareness, luminosity. So when this nature of the mind is luminosity and awareness, when it goes with, is associated with misconceptions and negative superimposing, this nature of the mind by nature is aware, luminosity, but it can be anger. So this nature is luminosity, is nature is awareness, but when it goes with misconceptions and exaggerating, favorable, and become attachment. So just generally saying, yeah.
But when we're saying nature can be this way, but it can show up as attachment, it can show up as anger, that's just a mere appearance. That's not nature. The nature doesn't change. What changes is the recognition of the nature. You can recognize, you cannot recognize. If you don't recognize, then it can express and manifest as these appearances of anger and attachment. But I'm still going to kind of say nature is unchangeable, maybe the appearance can change.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Recognition.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So nature is unchangeable. It can be enlightened. It can be samsara. So nature, because of that nature, is not changed yet. So once it becomes the negative, it can be turned back to the positive. But it cannot be completely negative. You cannot make whole nature of the mind dilute and contaminate. So you can make, one moment, one instant, one period of time, you can make it contaminations. But you cannot make whole the consciousness, whole time negative. So because that nature of the mind is pure and luminosity.
So you're making my point for me, that nature is inherent.
Yeah.
But the nature itself is inherent. We got inherent again. But the appearance and the recognition is the problem. And the appearance is not the nature. That's due to misperception of the nature. So you're saying I actually
anger.
understand.
Yeah, anger is not the nature of the mind. Anger is not the nature of the mind. Attachment is not the nature of the mind. But it can be, mind can be influenced for a period of time.
So we're back to something does inherently exist.
You're selling product from the 7-Eleven. I'm from the supermarket. So I have more.
You seem to be saying, I'm not, if I'm hearing you right, you're saying I'm not misunderstanding you. Do I have an area of misunderstanding here or not?
I think this is not the misunderstanding. It is the, so you just select one. You want to select one. So I have optional. You always want, like in Subway here, I want this part. So if you have this part, I cannot have another part. So that's the problem. So I'm giving options. So nature of the mind is luminosity, is awareness, is not realizing anything. It has the potential to be aware. So nature of the mind is luminosity means it's a potential to be aware of anything. But, when the mind associating with misconceptions, then it can be anger, attachment, but it cannot be turned whole mind to be anger. You cannot make whole time in anger. So, but you can turn the mind and whole time as compassionate, as awareness.
Okay, I think I get that. Now, just one more question I want to ask.
So I think this, you can make the mind completely, permanently aware, compassionate, but you cannot, there is no any cosmic condition that can make the mind completely and permanently anger or attachment. So you just temporarily, you can make anger. Temporarily, you can make attachment. So that way we call advantageously afflictive emotions, just a guest, the visitor. So that when there is, when there is no visiting any wisdom and compassion, and whole the visitors are negative. So you find, oh, this mind is so terrible. So these are only guests who comes very bad peoples. But house, where the guest is residing, can be, used by good people or the bad people. So the main point is the nature of the mind is it possible, it can be completely turned into positive compassion, wisdom. But any misconceptions cannot turn nature of the mind into permanently anger attachment. So that's why the very nature of the mind is luminosity.
Okay, one last question, and I think this has to do with the area of a provisional versus a definitive teaching. This illuminating the intent is a definitive teaching, as I understand it. It's not provisional, but essence of refined gold, I think, is a provisional teaching because when Dalai Lama teaches it, and he's talking about karma, he's talking about like seeds, and negative karmic seeds multiply over generations. They not only create a tendency to do like a negative or positive action, but they propensity isn't strong enough for word. They multiply like its example is a plant has many seeds, and then those plants have many seeds, and so if someone was done killing, you're creating future seeds of the propensity for killing, repeating the action. So I think that is a provisional teaching, right? Because he's talking in mind-only terms, I think.
I think teaching of law and cause and effect is not necessary to be only the mind-only school. It's generally, none of the schools, Sotandika school, Vavashika school, mind-only school, and even the Prasanga school, they accept this kind of law and cause and effect. So the only difference is mind-only, the Prasanga school says, so yes, these are the conventional relatively existing. So other, schools, they don't say it's relatively existing. It's conventional. So Sotandika school says law and cause effect truly exists. It's not absence of intrinsic. It's not absence of true existence. It is true. Because it's the law and cause and effect. They're highly lifted in their school. Law and cause and effect is something that you cannot escape from. A law and cause and effect is the rules that applies to every sentient beings. So therefore, it has to be truly exist. Therefore, it has to be intrinsically, inherently, truly exist. I think so. One aspect is showing how much they pay respect in the law and cause and effect. How much they have respect. So this is why the Ascension school, when they heard the Prasanga school said that nothing truly exists, nothing inherently exists, so they kind of shocked. So they think, they don't really much, have the faith in the law and cause and effect. Essentially, the school really think the Prasanga schools is following the nihilism.
So is to get back to my question, I don't know if I don't know whether or not you're familiar with Essence of Refined Gold. Is that something you're familiar with or not?
I think there's one short Lamrim teaching by the 7th Dalai Lama. There's also the Essence of Refined Gold. So maybe there's another textbook. Maybe, I don't know.
Because I remember Dalai Lama.
Oh, that was 7th Dalai Lama's Lamrim teaching, the Essence of Refined Gold.
I think he gave I don't know if it was 2 or 3 categories of teachings. One was provisional, one was definitive, and I think there might have been a third category even. Do you know what I'm referring to? Provisional, as I recall, is people are not really capable of fully understanding kind of the subtleties. So you teach in a form that can understand. It's not a definitive teaching, but it's what they're able to understand. And he was calling that provisional, whereas definitive was for those who had the capacity to understand. It's authoritative.
I think one in the Tibetan words we call Changden and Ngeden, provisional as a Changden. So the word Changba means lead. You are not there, but you're going to lead to that definitive state. So that is called provisional. So I'm not sure about the English word provisional. So it pervades, therefore it's provisional, or it is indefinite, therefore it's
it's kind of it's not the final version. It's not the final expression. It's more approximate.
So yeah, Tang Ten is the meaning. So meaning that you are taught, a meaning that is mentioned in this particular teaching is to lead up to that the ultimate truth. So that's the Changden. And Ngeden means this is the meaning as it is. So 2 kinds of teachings. When the Buddha teaches about impermanence, the conditional sufferings, and these are all provisional. That meaning that you understood from that teaching is to lead to understand the definitive meaning. So, which means this is not true as it is. Right. So there's the beneficial, there is the understanding, there's the realizations, but you haven't realized as it is. So impermanent is not the final meaning. So, for example, when you look at the, so impermanence, the conditional sufferings, if you think conditional suffering, if you are, something that is, under the control, some changes that is under the control of karma and afflictions. So something that other powered by the karma and afflictions, and you understood that kind of meaning as the conditional suffering. So now this is, involuntarily changing. Involuntarily changing means, so changes that are happening with you, not out of your will, and not you as you desire. So things that are happening with you unwantedly, involuntarily, because all the changes is under the force of the karma and afflictions. So that is kind of provisional meaning. So now he says there is no really, intrinsically coming from the past to the present, intrinsically, moving from present to the futures. So because you understood the conditional suffering is something that is coming from the past, therefore now this change happens. So whatever the action right now is doing will come to repentance. So you think, oh, there is something coming from the past to the present. There's the present, it also goes to the future. So if you, when you understood that, oh, this is what it meant, and then says Buddha, no, this is not the actual meaning. That is not the final meaning. This can be, understanding of the karma that committed in the past can come to this life to ripening. Understood that is can be useful, can be helpful, can be beneficial, but as you imagine, as you conceive, as you took the meaning, is not ultimate truth. So it's we call it a tongue turn. It has meaning that is deeper. Provisional. So the foundational consciousness is like in the ancient Hindu days talk about the Bhagavan himself is the source of all the functional things. So everything, all the activities are happening because of this, the source of the Shiva, Lord Shiva. So this now in the ancient people who worship the Shiva, this is Shiva is the source of everything. People who worship the Vishnu, this is Vishnu is the source of everything. Even the Shiva and the Brahma born from the Vishnus. So there again the arguments, dispute that. So which one is the main source of all the activities, all the functional things? So the people who worship Shiva says this is Shiva is the source. Shiva is the source of all energy, all the activities. So that's why there's in the Hindu there's the saying that, and without his acceptance, even the one lips cannot move. So this much his power. If the leaf is moving out of his control, if you are doing anything out of his control, and sometimes, which means the people who are doing negative thing is also under the control of Shiva. People who are going to the hell realms under the control of the Shiva. So that's kind of I think it makes sense sometime because they have a desire to know who is doing that. So like, for example, I have done something bad things and 20 years, 30 years, I forgot that. But, the result can rapidly in after the 30 years, 40 years. And then you remember, oh, this is what I done. So who brought the result to me? So then I don't even recall that. I don't remember that. And then people says, oh, so here the Bhagavan is, Lord Shiva is there. He remember. He is watching. He knows everything. So then people can, oh, if there's someone who is recording everything, then it's okay. So your desire is fulfilled. Now with that desire, what you do is, so I worship to Shiva. Please, I confess. Please do not punish me.
That sounds like Yama.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I think this is pretty much the same concept in the whole religion. So, in the Buddha Shakyamuni teaching, there's nothing says about Buddha is control everything, and Buddha will punish you, Buddha will reward you. I remember one time in India, one Indian guy questioned his holiness. He was very, very kind of devoted people, devoted to the Hindu religion, and he don't see his holiness different from Hindu. So he asked, and why God creates the hell realm? So he was kind of in his holiness says, I think there's there are some people need to send to the Helram, therefore God creates the Helram. And he said, oh, that's why it makes sense. It makes sense. so according to his, he only cannot mention there is no, the Bhagavan who's sending you Helram, because he is believing in that. And according to his belief, he answered. So there is people, bad people. So for that, he created the Helram, So anyway, the mind, foundational consciousness, pretty much there is a similarity with the concept of the Bhagavan, the creator, because there's a source of everything happening because of, one particular, one specific condition. So then there says the karma cannot be, remembered or, recorded or registered in eye conscious, nose conscious, tongue conscious, body conscious, even the mental consciousness. So what is, what is the condition that can be printed, all the negative and the positive karma, who will bring many lives, the result, result in different lives. So who will be there all the time? You're not eye conscious, not air conscious, not even the mental consciousness. Who will be there all the time when you take, after death you're born again? So what is there to be remembered? What is there who has witnessed, who has, registered all the activities? Then there's this, the mind basis of all. So nature of the mind. So if you contaminate the mind will, give rise to the negative result. If you, purify the contaminations, and mind will give rise to peace. So that's in the Buddhist mind. So the mind is the one, you just make it contaminate, and as a result, there is, how's there, what do you call pollutions, dirts. If you purify that, and it will give you clarities. So in the mind-only school, people, they say, oh, this is very much like, Lord Shiva. So then that has to be permanent. That has to be intrinsic, truly exist. This mind basis all is moving from one body to the next body. This is exact like Gupta, coming from the village and returning back to the good village. So mind basis all is that. So therefore, they find this is the very comfortable, spot. So now, because of that, and this is everything rise from there. So what I see is also rise from the mind basis of all. What I hear is from the mind basis of all. So therefore, there is no external form which is produced, constructed from the particles. So that's kind of, so the mind-only school following the scriptures, there is no even particles, all mind, everything is mind. The mind-only school follow of the reasoning says even the particles and the elements are also, yes, they are produced from the elements and the particles. Particles are also rise from the mind basis.
Question. So, part of this mind basis of all things, the mind is creator of virtue, mind is creator of vice, mind is creator of happiness, mind is created for suffering. Are you saying this is very similar to a belief that Bhagavan did it? It seems like when we're saying mind is basis of all, it's not like Bhagavan, but we have control over our own mind.
Yeah, positive actions brings the positive result. Negative actions brings the negative results. So almost like if you've done something bad things in the many lives before, you will still get punishment. And who is kind of opening this what we call files? And there's the files are written in this foundation consciousness. The foundation consciousness is the one. So instead of saying Lord Shiva is punishing you, so the foundation consciousness is one that opens the files, negative files, and then you will give the result, negative result.
We don't really accept mind as the basis of all because everything arises interdependently and there's no inherent self. So we can't say simply we did it or Bhagavan did it because everything arises interdependently.
Yeah, this is like, for example, and in the Prasangika school, they say, this is like, for example, and there's space, the air. There's no sound at all. Then I make the sound. So depending on how strong I make it, if I make small sound, the waves is become weaker, and that produce the sound less and less and less. So the continuum of the sound is because conditioned by the first sound that I make from my mouth. So if I make the big stronger sound and the wave is stronger and the sound is kind of lasts much longer than the weak sound. So in this way, when you create the karma, so the karma that is depending on what kind of karma, how strong it is, how severe that karma is. So in that, according to that, and the result will manifest. So the result to manifest, that karma will disappear and not really returning back. So if this karma is strong enough to produce, not only in one life, 2 life, 3 life, so then after completing their result, their karma also disappears. Because so this is why there's no need any mediators. There's no mediator who's recording everything. Because the continuum is the continuity is because of that karmic force. So to continue, you don't need the mind basis or you don't need foundation consciousness.
But it is to misspeak, isn't it? To say we create our own karma or we do mind training as if a me or a will or a self exists. Isn't that where we get confused all the time? I did this. If only I, there was a great Western philosopher called William James, and his theory was even if we can't say free will exists, it's helpful to act as if it did, because if we act as if it did, we can have a sense of creating a favorable result. If you don't believe in it, you're You're just kind of a victim. So when we talk about mind training, aren't we really doing the same thing? We're acting as if there's a self who can create positive karma, negative karma, but there's no inherent self. And in reality, things are rising interdependently. But if we act as if there's a self, we can create habits. Is it correct what I'm saying or not?
Yeah, I think in what field he was kind of, if he was this, when he said this kind of, if as if there is free will, you have to do things, and then out of your own will, you kind of, do things as you want, as you desire, and not because you are just habitually doing things, not listening your habituations, and, listening or do things with convictions. So I think this is actually Buddha's teaching. Buddha says, follow, any idea or kind of, any desires, anything, with convictions, with understanding of the nature of that, actions and motivations and the result. Convince that, yeah, with convictions, if you do that, and then you are not really under the force of the habituations. So then, so that is also kind of rebelling the, the usual, activities that is more driven by habituations. Right now, probably most of the time, we do things, say things out of habit, right? So we just keep repeating that. The emotional repeating, therefore we repeat things. So if we say, try not to say it out of habit, and say things, as you understand. So that is also kind of, it can be pushed back a little bit, the, the habit, habituations and propensities. So for that, you need to, understand the meaning of the muni. You need to understand how to silence the mind. So if you have no kind of, skill to how to silence the mind, which means you just follow the habituations. So you silence the mind for, not one time, many times, and then the mind will, anything that do, and the mind will try to understand what I'm doing, why I am saying, why I am doing, what will be the result. So you need to pacify, so those mental pictures, imaginations. So you have to quiet them, so the mind can be more relaxed and calm. And then with that calmness, anything that you do with awareness. So I think that's the point, I think. Yeah. So Om Muni Muni Maha Muni is Muni is first silent. Without, understanding the meaning of the Muni, you cannot stop the habituations. You just, keep, how's that? Pushed by the current of the habituations. You just carry out, right? So you have to be Mahamuni, not just Muni. So I think here, the Vasubandhu's treasury of Abhidhammas, There's a little bit, word order is a little different from the Tibetans. The serving, reconnecting. So Tsamjors, reconnecting means after the death, the birth reconnecting after the death. Death and birth connectedness is all, activities within the mental consciousness and being free from attachment. So the experiencing of freedom from the attachment and the angers, that is also just understood in mental consciousness, is not sensory perception's object. So, and then the degenerating nyam the chipo. So degenerating samju chant nyam the chipo like a disintegrating or the dying or the death is also experienced within the mental consciousness. Transition through death, so transition through death means chipo, Samjo means transition from death to the birth. So that is also experience. It's the object for the mental consciousness. So no sensory perceptions can cognize the transitions, death and birth. So no sensory perception can cognize, what death is, what birth is, and how travels after death to the births. So these are only cannot be seen, cannot be hear like as a sound. It's only mentally experienced, mental cognized, right? So I think that's the transition, death, and being born. These we maintain to be mental consciousness alone. So I think there is the reason Vasubandhu, the mind is the witness. The mind is the reason that you are able to talk about the death and the birth. Mind is the reason that you are talking about travel from the one life to the another life. So only mind. So with that mind, you can talk, you can conceive, you can believe, So I think that's pretty much true. If you're only based with eye consciousness, you cannot talk about death and life, death and birth. You cannot talk about reconnecting death to the birth. So you cannot talk about, law and cause and effect. So the based on mental consciousness alone has a cognized, experience, believe, and conceive and imagine. Yeah. So I think this is why this Kamalashila, quoted from the Vasubandhu's text. The Kamalashila says, I think these kind of activities are the reason that Minority School keeps saying there's a foundational consciousness. So if this is the reason that they project the foundational consciousness not necessarily truly exist. So this kind of activities you can mentally understand in yogurt and milk, seed and sprout. So there is no foundation consciousness. There is no true basis. So that continuum is the reason. The continuum is because of that one that the continuum of the barley seed and sprout is the condition is a condition by the potential of the Bali seed, the potential of the corporate condition. So you don't need any foundation consciousness between Bali seed and sprout, milk and yogurt. Why do you need foundation consciousness after death to the birth? So the reason after death you take birth is there is continuing force of karma and afflictions, continuing force of the karmic actions. So, which means the karma is functioning within that continuum. So you don't need the, you don't need like foundation consciousness to remember you, to remind you. So when the karma is stopped, karma is afflictive emotions are cease to exist. Afflictive emotions are removed, karma has stopped, and then continuum will stop. So there is no continuum after the death, there's the birth. So that continuum is it is the, due to, karmic force. So karmic force is continuing with you. Why do you need the karma? There's the one particular condition, the container, which, keep the seeds. So yeah, when I make the noise from inside the house and someone hear this sound of, sound of mine, heard by some other people outside. So there's a continuum is the force that depending on the first sound that I make from my mouth. So that continuum is my force is still there with the continuum. The whole karmic force is still there within the continuum. You don't need the karma to carry by one particular, one particular, how's that, separate, like a box or a separate container. So I think now the question is, and then if this is not necessary, but still why? What makes them to believe? And then it says, yes, they were, long time taught and told, informed like a creator. So therefore, they think, oh, this is very similar to what I had been believing. This is doing the same thing as God. So it is clear from the above that great master Chandrakirti also does not accept the foundational consciousness. The same is true also of Master Abhikara. We could use Abhikara Gupta says. Gupta, I don't. Other Mahayana scriptures too do mention the term foundational consciousness, but they do not specify clearly what term actually referred to. However, if one examines their meaning, there is never any apparent acceptance of the something distinct from the sixth class of consciousness. So Lama Tsongkapha was confidently saying that, so there are Mahayana schools like Tantrayanas and Nagarjuna, the Committee on Awakening Mind, mentioned about the foundational consciousness. But when we ask them what is the meaning of that, for sure it is totally different from the mind of the school. So they are just referring to the nature of the mind, is the foundational consciousness. So to conclude this tradition of the commentary on the awakening mind appears, in fact, to belong to the standpoint that accept external reality, So that's, the reason why those Mayan schools who mention the foundation consciousness are not like mind-only school, because they all accept external reality. And it is mental consciousness that is being designated by the term the foundational consciousness. So there's the word they use, foundational consciousness. These issues required extensive treatment, but fearing excessive length, I will not write about them more here. Because he's running out of paper. So, so in Tibet, the paper is too expensive. So he said, I'm going to stop here. Example of the scripture taught with this specific intention. Example of scripture taught with specific intentions. So now it's saying why the Prasangika, the minority schools, the standpoints are provisional. So even though the Buddha was free from identity view, he did speak in the terms of I and mine. So he is free from, concept of I and mine, but still he used I and mind. Likewise, though things are devoid of intrinsic existence, he speaks of their existence in provisional sense. So, which means Buddha is teaching out of compassion, not out of knowledge, how much he has knowledge. It's just, skillfully how much they can digest, based on that, mental dispositions, and then he teaches. That's why sometimes, even though he has no concept I and mind, but he speaks on the I and mind, even though he do not see any intrinsic reality, but according to the disciple, disciple through training, and then he speaks of, indicates there's some kind of intrinsic existence. So it is not only the foundational consciousness that has been taught to help trainee initially engage. So which means initially engage from the beginning with the teaching. For example, even though the Buddha, being free of identity view, I and mine, and its habitual imprints, totally eliminate all the conceptualizations grasping in terms of I and mine, he did still speak in terms of I and mine. So this is skillful means to help the world comprehend the truth of his teaching. Likewise, though things are devoid of intrinsic existence, the Buddha spoke in a provisional sense alone of their existence as though they possess intrinsic natures. Is their indications. This is skillful means to help the world to gradually comprehend the suchness. So the main, his intention to lead to definitive truth. In brief, the meaning is this. It appears as though the Buddha possessed the conception of I and mine as judged by his utterance, right? Of I and mine, yet the Buddha lack of conceptualizations remain definitive truth. In the same way, when the Buddha taught, as though phenomena possess intrinsic existence, this appears to reflect his intentions. Nonetheless, the definitive truth remains that phenomena remains that phenomena do not exist in such terms. The way the Buddha engaged with conventional truth is as a consonance, right? So what is the consonance? In truth, in consonance with the world is to extensively present it in the following stanzas from the sutra belonging to the early Buddha's Purvasila sects. So during the Buddha, there's 18 sects. So the followers, 18. So first measure the sects, the 4, and then they divide from the 4, become the 18. So there's within this different sects, they have arguments. They're a little bit different. Now this has stopped, continued argument has stopped because when Buddha teaching reached in Tibet, we create our own sects. So those sects, 18 sects, no longer is disputable. So whole Tibetan monastic tradition followed one particular sect. So there's one, so this Purvasila sect is a follower of Kashyapa, one of the main disciple of the Bodhisattva, Kashyapa. From him, there's the lineages follows called Purvasila. So in this Purvasila teachings, saying that if the savior of the world, referring to the Buddha, do not engage in according with the world, if the Buddha, he himself remained in that, Tathagats, as always remain in that absence of intrinsic nature, and he cannot really, give the teaching. He cannot really engage with people. So do not engage in accord with the world. No one will know the nature of the Buddha and what is the Buddhahood. If the Buddha do not cooperate with, ignorant people. So if Buddha do not cooperate with ignorant people, and he cannot deliver his teaching, he cannot let the people know about the Buddhahood. So maintaining the aggregates, the elements, and then now this is the example here. Maintaining the aggregates, elements, sense base are one in their nature, yet he speaks of the world of the 3 realms. This is to accord with the world. So when Buddha talk about the 3 realms and the 5 aggregates, and then the sense faculties, and then the elements. So with the language, we can separate them. The bodies, the elements, the sense faculties. But actually, when you look closely, so the elements, the bodies, the sense faculties are the one nature. Just in one nature. But one nature, but with language, it's created separately. So in this way, all the 3 realms, the nature of that elements, nature of that sense faculty, but according to the sentient beings, people to easy to understand, easy to conceive, and the Buddha mentioned the 3 realms. Right. Speak of the world in the 3 realms. This is to accord with the world. The realities that have no name are inconceivable, yet through the names he speaks of these to sentient beings. The reality as it is, the suchness or the ultimate truth, cannot be expressed through the language, cannot be conceived as it is. But Buddha, for the sentient beings, he speak through the language. He tried to deliver through the concepts. So that is also according to the accord with the world, with compassion, revealing clearly the absence of entity and abiding in the Buddha's nature. So there is no absence of entity at all. He teaches this is to accord with the world. In the reality, in his perceptions, in his, for the omniscient, from the omniscient point of view, there's nothing intrinsically exists. But for the sentient beings, Buddha says, this is the impermanence, this is the condition of suffering, and then this is the, how's that, absence of self-sufficient I. And then Buddha says, oh, this is the absence of independent I. And then Buddha goes on say, oh, nothing intrinsically exists. So this is whole because of the art of compassion. Not seeing truth or the absence of truth, yet he speak of cessation and sublime truth. So in the reality, from his point of view, from the omniscience perspective, so there is nothing he has find and differently, like enlightenment or the liberation is something different from the samsaric existence. But he says, this is the samsara and this is the liberations. So from the omniscient, it just understand the nature of the reality as it is. There is no, you have, abandoned something, you have obtained something, gained something different. But for the sentient being, secular existing and the liberations and freedom from the secular existence. These words, all provisional. Samsara and liberation as the two things is provisional. So there is no disintegration or birth, and ultimately there is no actual death, actual birth, ultimately. But there's no disintegration of birth, and though things are equal within the ultimate expanse, he speaks of the eons ending as a conflagrations. This is to accord with the world.
Conflagration is like the end of time, or when everything burns up, it explodes, ignites.
Yeah. So when the omniscience, abide and settle in that absence of intrinsic natures, there's nothing he can see needed to be abandoned, needed to be obtained or the gain. But for the sentient beings, Buddha mentioned, there is the practice that can purify negativities that are collected from the eons and eons. All the eons and eons cultivating the merits for the enlightenment. So these are provisional teaching. There are some rituals that we do to purify negativities, this life negativities, the past life negativities, and past life negativities. So something that can, present antidote, which is, in the process of eliminating the past karma, negative karma, not just one past, as thousands past lives karma. So logically, you can say, how can you apply the present, how can you, and the present antidote present antidote, the practice, can eliminate the karma that is already ceased to exist. So ultimately, there is no, you cannot really, Sunday, you cannot eliminate the Sunday. And Sunday, anything that you do, you cannot eliminate Friday, Saturday, Thursday, everything, those are past. But there is the concept of eliminating, anything that actions that is done in the past, although they are already past, already ceased to exist. So why this is, because there is the strength in the present time, the negativity is giving us strength, because the long time and the continuing habituations, intensity of the strength by reducing, and then with the language this is, you have eliminate, negative karma or negative actions that has done in the many, many past life. If you can really eliminate any, many paths, so then, soldier who have killed enemy, so they can also go and killing the enemies, their, their fathers, their grandfathers, all of them dead. So he can be able to kill them, right? So there is dead person you cannot kill. Why? The karma that already passed, how can you eliminate? So then the concept of that is the true, is unmistaken, because the present has the continuity of all of them. And because of that continuity of for a long, long time, the strength of that, intensity of that is there. By reducing that, you can use the language, you have eliminated many, many lives karma. So these are whole professional teaching. So the Purvashila sects are, Hinayana, but in the Hinayana Sutra, mentioning about emptiness, absence of intrinsic existence. So the absence of intrinsic existence is not only the Mahayana. So it's absent, the realization of absent intrinsic existence is the wisdom that can, has the only power to lead to the liberations. So Hinayana and Mahayana both have the realization of emptiness. So the Prasangika school keeps proving that, So liberations is, possible because of this wisdom realizing absence of intrinsic existence. Without that, no one can attain the liberation, no one can the Buddhahood. So therefore, Hinayana and Mahayana both have the realization of absence of intrinsic existence. So other school of thought, they don't really say that. They say, for the Hinayana, just simply no need to understand absence of intrinsic existence. Just simply realize absence of self-sufficient I, absence of independent I. That alone has the power enough to overcome the afflictive emotion. And absence of intrinsic, absence of true existing of the phenomena is for the Mahayana to attain the Buddhahood. The Prasangika school says no. So to overcome the afflictive emotions, Mahayana and Hinayana has the same wisdom. So then, and if there is the same wisdom, why the Hinayana cannot attain the Buddhahood? And then there's a method, the great compassion, the bodhicitta. So bodhicitta, with bodhicitta, enlightened mind, and the great compassion, and with wisdom, and then you can eliminate not only the afflictive emotion, even the stain of the afflictive emotions. So whether past, the present, the futures, that the nature of sentient beings cannot be observed, yet he speaks of the sentient being's nature. This is to accord with the world. So 3 times are not intrinsically exist, but with a mention of the 3 times, so that 3 times is the provisional, is interpretable, is not the final meaning. So of these, the last stanza presents the selflessness of person in the terms of the sentient being, lacking intrinsic existence, while the remaining stanzas present by referring to the entity and absence of entity, the selflessness of the phenomena. In the blaze of the reasoning, Purvashila sect is described as having emerged as a branching off from the, I think, Mahasamjika. I think Kashapa, yeah. So it's kind of, this is the one of the sects. The Purvashila is from that, the branch off from that particular sects. So thus it appears that at least one sutra in the Charvaka scriptures collections clearly teaches phenomena to be devoid of intrinsic existence. Yeah. Now, after that, it continues the, mentioning the mind-only school, because Lama Tsongkapha and Chandrakirti also thinks that bringing up this mind-only school point of view and then refuting it helps you to clearly understand the Prasangika school.
I assume these 2 sects no longer exist, that they existed and they disappeared.
Yeah, there's a Tibetan, we choose the Chandrakirti, they choose only one sect. When the Adisha came to Tibet, Adisha follows another sect. So someone requests Adisha to give the monastic vows. So Adisha accept that request. And the Domtamba says, no, you cannot. You're not allowed to give your sects in Tibet, because this is the, law of the Tison Desert. So the Domtamba stopped Adisha to give his sects. Even the Tison Desert is no longer there, but Domtamba still follow his rules. Okay. Chanju semjo rinpoche, ma jeba na jeje, jeba nyamba meba, kone kondo bewa jo, tonye dawa rinpoche, ma jeba na jeje, jeba nyamba meba nyo, kone kondo bewa jo, pama simjen tamde, dedan deju, ngendo tamde, tato tonga, chanju semba kanda sushu be, tada kunje, molong jungju re, kare rawe ko be shikang, penda dewa ma jo, jenre sewa, tintin jazu, shabe, side bado deju re, may the precious one realizing emptiness.
May that born have no decline but increase furthermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase furthermore.
Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness, and may all the lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountain, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful, generous, Intrinsic, remain this world until samsara ends. Thank you.